back to Bible quizzes. We have 80 questions today. Let's go ahead and get started. 1. Who was the father of Gomer, the wife of the prophet Hosea? Diblaim, Imatai, Eliakim, or Jeriel? Diblaim. Hosea 1:3. So he went and took Gomer the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. 2. Which prophet did King Ahab refer to as one who never prophesies anything good about him? Elijah, Elisha, Nathan, or Micaiah? Micaiah. 1 Kings 22:8. The king of Israel answered Jehoshaphat, "There is still one prophet through whom we can inquire of the Lord, but I hate him because he never prophesies anything good about me, but always bad. He is Micaiah, son of Imlah." 3. Who was the only judge of Israel known for a prophetic gift and role in the military leadership? Deborah, Miriam, Huldah, or Jael? Deborah, Judges 4:4. Now Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was judging Israel at that time. 4. Which of Jacob's sons was kept as a hostage by Joseph in Egypt? Levi, Simeon, Reuben, or Judah? Simeon, Genesis 42:24. He turned away from them and began to weep, but then turned back and spoke to them again. He had Simeon taken from them and bound before their eyes. 5. Who was the king of Judah who was healed after praying and had his life extended by 15 years? Josiah, Asa, Hezekiah, or Jehoshaphat? Hezekiah, 2 Kings 26. I will add 15 years to your life, and I will deliver you and this city from the hand of the king of Assyria. I will defend the city for my sake and for the sake of my servant David. 6. Which Old Testament character's hair was caught in a tree leading to his death? Saul, Samson, Absalom, or Jonathan? Absalom, 2 Samuel 18:9. Now Absalom happened to meet David's men. He was riding his mule, and as the mule went under the thick branches of a large oak, Absalom's hair got caught in the tree. He was left hanging in midair while the mule he was riding kept on going. 7. Who was the wife of Moses? Miriam, Ruth, Zipporah, or Hagar? Zipporah, Exodus 2:21. Moses agreed to stay with the man who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. 8. Which king of Israel sought to kill Elijah after the prophet confronted him for his idolatry? Saul, Ahab, Jeroboam, or Manasseh? Ahab. 1 Kings 19:2. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." 9. Who was the high priest during the time of young Samuel's calling? Eli, Phinehas, Aaron, or Hophni? Eli, 1 Samuel 1:9. Once when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. 10. Who was David's close friend, also the son of King Saul? Abner, Mephibosheth, Jonathan, or Ishbosheth? Jonathan, 1 Samuel 18:1. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. 11. Which Babylonian official threw Daniel into the lion's den? Nebuchadnezzar, Darius, Belshazzar, or Cyrus? Darius, Daniel 6:16. So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." 12. Who was the mother of Ishmael? Sarah, Hagar, Rebekah, or Leah? Hagar, Genesis 16:15. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. 13. Who was the first king of the northern kingdom of Israel after it split from Judah? Rehoboam, Baasha, Jeroboam, or Omri? Jeroboam, 1 Kings 12:20. When all the Israelites heard that Jeroboam had returned, they sent and called him to the assembly and made him king over all Israel. Only the tribe of Judah remained loyal to the house of David. 14. Who was the wife of King Ahab and known for promoting the worship of Baal? Jezebel, Michal, Athaliah, or Tamar? Jezebel, 1 Kings 16:31. He not only considered it trivial to commit the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, but he also married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and began to serve Baal and worship him. 15. Which prophet was swallowed by a great fish? Nahum, Jonah, Hosea, or Amos? Jonah, Jonah 1:17. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. 16. Who was the father of King Solomon? David, Jesse, Saul, or Samuel? David, 1 Kings 1:28. Then King David said, "Call in Bathsheba." So she came into the king's presence and stood before him. 17. Who was the mother of Samuel, the last judge of Israel? Hannah, Naomi, Deborah, or Michal? Hannah, 1 Samuel 1:20. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, "Because I asked the Lord for him." 18. Which prophet confronted David after his sin with Bathsheba? Nathan, 2 Samuel 12:7. Then Nathan said to David, "You're the man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you from the hand of Saul." 19. Who is a prophetess that recognized Jesus as the Messiah when he was presented at the temple? Huldah, Deborah, Miriam, or Anna? Anna, Luke 2:36. There was also a prophetess Anna, the daughter of Penuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old. She had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage. 20. Which disciple was known for his doubt when told of Jesus' resurrection? Peter, Philip, James, or Thomas? Thomas, John 20:24-25. Now Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." 21. Which verse states that the love of money is the root of all evil? James 1:17, Proverbs 10:22, 1 Timothy 6:10, or Matthew 6:24? First Timothy 6:10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. 22. In which verse does Paul declare that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me? Philippians 4:13, Galatians 2:20, Romans 8:37, or 2 Corinthians 5:17? Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through him who gives me strength. 23, which verse emphasizes that God is love? John 3:16, Romans 5:8, 1 John 4:8, or 1 Corinthians 13:4? First John 4:8, whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. 24, in which verse is it written, I am the way, the truth, and the life? John 10:10, John 8:32, John 14:6, or John 6:35? John 14:6, Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. 25, which verse contains a commandment to love your neighbor as yourself? Exodus 20:13, Matthew 22:39, Leviticus 19:18, or Romans 13:10? Leviticus 19:18, do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. 26, which verse assures that all things work together for good? Romans 8:28, Philippians 4:19, Jeremiah 29:11, or Psalms 37:4? Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. 27, in which verse does it say, for I know the plans I have for you? Isaiah 41:10, Psalm 23:1, Jeremiah 29:11, or Proverbs 3:5? Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. 28, which verse states that faith comes by hearing? Hebrews 11:1, James 1:22, Romans 10:17, or 1 Corinthians 13:13? Romans 10:17, consequently faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word about Christ. 29, which verse says, do not be anxious about anything? Philippians 4:6-7, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. 30, which verse declares that the Lord is my shepherd? Psalm 23:1, John 10:11, Isaiah 40:11, or Ezekiel 34:15? Psalm 23:1, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. 31, in which verse does Jesus say, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth? Matthew 5:5, Matthew 5:9, Luke 6:20, or John 15:18? Matthew 5:5, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Lambs for yourselves according to your families, and kill the Passover lamb. 32, which verse emphasizes the importance of guarding one's heart? Proverbs 4:23, Matthew 6:21, Psalm 119:11, or James 4:7? Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. 33, which verse assures that God is our refuge and strength? Psalm 46:1, Psalm 91:2, Isaiah 26:3, or Proverbs 18:10? Psalms 46:1. God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. 34. Which verse states, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart"? Jeremiah 29:13, Psalm 119:2, Deuteronomy 4:29, or Matthew 7:7. Jeremiah 29:13, "You'll seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." 35. Which verse declares that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever? Hebrews 13:8, John 1:1, 2 Corinthians 5:17, or Colossians 1:17. Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. 36. In which verse does it say the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak? Mark 14:38, Matthew 26:41, Luke 22:46, or John 6:63. Mark 14:38, "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing but the flesh is weak." 37. Which verse states, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also"? Matthew 6:21, 1 Timothy 6:19, Luke 12:34, or Colossians 3:2. Matthew 6:21, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." 38. Which verse states, "If God is for us, who can be against us"? Romans 8:31, Isaiah 54:17, Philippians 4:13, or 2 Timothy 1:7. Romans 8:31, "What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?" 39. In which verse does Jesus say, "Ask and it will be given to you"? Luke 11:9, Matthew 7:7, John 16:24, or James 1:5. Matthew 7:7, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you." 40. Which verse speaks of putting on the whole armor of God? Ephesians 6:11, 2 Corinthians 10:4, 1 Peter 5:8, or Romans 13:12. Ephesians 6:11, "Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes." 41. In which parable does Jesus tell of a good Samaritan? Lost sheep, prodigal son, good Samaritan, or rich fool? Good Samaritan, Luke 10:30-37. In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers, but a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him." 42. Which parable illustrates the kingdom of heaven as a mustard seed? Pearl of great price, the mustard seed, the treasure hidden in a field, or the leaven? Mustard seed. Matthew 13:31-32. He told them another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants." 43. In which parable does a man lose a valuable coin? Lost sheep, lost coin, prodigal son, or rich man? The lost coin. Luke 15:8-10. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? 44. The parable of the wheat and the tares. What do the tares represent? The righteous, wicked, angels, or church? The wicked, Matthew 13:24-30. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in the field, but while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat. 45. In the parable of the two sons, what lesson is taught about obedience? Actions speak louder than words. Matthew 21:28-31. What do you think? There was a man who had two sons. He went to the first and said, "Son, go and work today in the vineyard." 46. In the parable of the sheep and the goats, how are people judged? Their wealth, kindness, education, or faith? Kindness, Matthew 25:31-46. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, he'll separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. 47. Where did the Israelites wander for 40 years? Egypt, wilderness, Canaan, or Babylon? Wilderness, Exodus 16:35. The Israelites ate manna for 40 years until they came to a land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. 48. Where was Jesus baptized? Sea of Galilee, Dead Sea, Jordan River, or Nile River? Jordan River, Matthew 3:13. Then Jesus came from Galilee to the Jordan to be baptized by John. 49. Which city is known as the birthplace of Jesus? Nazareth, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, or Capernaum? Bethlehem, Luke 2:4-7. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. 50. Where did the Tower of Babel get built? Egypt, Canaan, Mesopotamia, or Babylon? Babylon, Genesis 11:1-4. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. 51. What city was the capital of the northern kingdom of Israel? Jerusalem, Ephesus, Laodicea, or Samaria? Samaria, 1 Kings 16:24. He bought the hill of Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver and built a city on the hill, calling it Samaria after Shemer, the name of the former owner of the hill. 52. Which city was known for its great walls that fell down? Jericho, Babylon, Ai, or Nineveh? Jericho, Joshua 1:1-2. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spoke to Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, saying, Moses my servant is dead, now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel. 53. In which region did Jesus perform most of his miracles? Judea, Edom, Samaria, or Galilee? In Galilee, Matthew 4:23. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. 54. What does a parable of the rich young ruler teach about wealth? Wealth can hinder one's relationship with God. Matthew 19:21-24. Jesus answered, If you want to be perfect, go, sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven. 55. Where was the Apostle Paul born? Jerusalem, Antioch, Tarsus, or Ephesus? Tarsus, Acts 22:3. I am a Jew born in Tarsus of Cilicia, but brought up in this city. I studied under Gamaliel and was thoroughly trained in the law of our ancestors. 56. Which city was known for the stronghold of the Philistines? Goliath, Gaza, Jerusalem, or Nineveh? Gaza, Judges 16:21. Then the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza, binding him with the bronze shackles. 57. Where did the Apostle John have his vision recorded in Revelation? Patmos, Corinth, Ephesus, or Rome? Patmos, Revelation 1:9. I, John, your brother and companion in the suffering and kingdom and patient endurance that are ours in Jesus, was on the island of Patmos because of the word of God and the testimony of Jesus. 58. What city is known for the walls that were rebuilt by Nehemiah? Babylon, Samaria, Jerusalem, or Nineveh? Jerusalem, Nehemiah 2:17. Then I said to them, you see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. 59. In which city was the first Christian church established? Jerusalem, Ephesus, Antioch, or Corinth? Jerusalem, Acts 2:41-42. Those who accepted his message were baptized, and about 3,000 were added to their number that day. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. 60. What was the name of the river where Naaman was told to wash to be healed of leprosy? Euphrates, Tigris, Nile, or Jordan? Jordan, 2 Kings 5:10. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, go wash yourselves 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored and you'll be cleansed. 61. What city was destroyed by God because of its wickedness? Jericho, Babylon, Sodom, or Nineveh? Sodom, Genesis 19:24-25. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities and also the vegetation in the land. 62. What item did Noah send out to see if the floodwaters had receded? A dove, sparrow, raven, or seagull? A dove, Genesis 8:8-12. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find no place to land because there was water over all the surface of the earth, so it returned to Noah in the ark. 63. What was the sign of the covenant God made with Noah? A rainbow, a star, dove, or burning bush? A rainbow, Genesis 9:12-13. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds. 64. What did the Israelites use to commemorate their escape from Egypt? Matzah, the Red Sea, Passover lamb, or bitter herbs? Passover lamb, Exodus 12:21-23. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, go at once and select the animals for your families and slaughter the Passover lamb. 65. What did Samson use to kill 1,000 men? A sword, spear, donkey's jawbone, or his bare hands? Donkey's jawbone, Judges 15:15. Finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. 66. What did Elijah call down from heaven to consume the offering on Mount Carmel? Fire, rain, water, or wind? Fire, 1 Kings 18:38. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. 67. What type of tree did Zacchaeus climb to see Jesus? Fig, palm, olive, or sycamore? Sycamore, Luke 19:4. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. 68. What did Peter use to walk on water? His faith, a life jacket, a boat, or a plank? His faith. Matthew 14:29. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. 69. What item did Aaron's rod become? A serpent, a fountain, a flower, or a snake? Serpent. Exodus 7:10. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord had commanded. Aaron threw his staff down in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a snake. 70. What type of fish did Jesus instruct Peter to catch to find a coin in its mouth? A tilapia, a goldfish, a carp, or it's unnamed? Unnamed. Matthew 17:27. But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you'll find a 4 drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours. 71. What item did Gideon use to test God's will? A fleece, a sword, a staff, or a bowl? A fleece. Judges 6:37. I'll place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I'll know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you said. 72. What was the name of the woman who judged Israel and led them to victory? Ruth, Jael, Deborah, or Esther? Deborah. Judges 4:4. Now Deborah, a prophet, the wife of Lapidoth, was leading Israel at that time. 73. What was used to purify the waters of Jericho? Salt, a stone, a branch, or a gourd? Salt. 2 Kings 2:19-21. The people of the city said to Elisha, Look, our lord, the city is well situated, as you can see, but the water is bad and the land is unproductive. Elisha said, Bring me a new bowl and put salt in it. 74. What did King Solomon use to dedicate the temple? Incense, water, oil, or gold? Oil. 1 Kings 8:63. Solomon offered a sacrifice of fellowship offerings to the Lord, 22,000 cattle and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the Israelites dedicated the temple of the Lord. 75. What did Jesus break during the Last Supper? A loaf of bread, cup, fish, or cheese? Loaf of bread. Matthew 26:26. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, Take and eat, this is my body. 76. Who was the father of John the Baptist? Nathan, Isaiah, Zacharias, or Jeremiah? Zacharias. Luke 1:5-13. In the time of Herod king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah, but the angel said to him, Do not be afraid, Zechariah, your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to call him John. 77. Which king of Israel consulted a medium? Saul, Solomon, David, or Ahab? Saul. 1 Samuel 28:7. Saul said to his attendants, Find me a woman who is a medium so I may go and inquire of her. 78. In which book is the fruit of the Spirit listed? Romans, Galatians, Ephesians, or Philippians? . Galatians 5:22-23, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. 79, in the parable of the lost sheep, how many sheep did the shepherd leave to find the one that was lost? 50, 100, 70, or 99? 99. Luke 15:4. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? 80. Which verse states, "Be strong and courageous"? Deuteronomy 31:6, Isaiah 40:31, Joshua 1:9, or Psalm 27:14? Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And that's all our questions for today. So put your scores down below in the comments and then share this with your friends and family, and then we'll see you all in the next one.